The U.S. inflation numbers came out last week. And guess what, guys? Inflation remains higher than anyone wants to see. And prices are up and on the rise again. So we need to prepare for more pain. And there's certain things that we need to be doing right now as prices are going up again, according to the numbers. The big problem is that the rate of inflation is not coming down fast enough. It'll be a while before inflation returns to those pre-pandemic levels that we were used to. Now, on this quick video, guys, I want to fill you in on what the latest inflation numbers are and what they really mean for us. And later in this video, I want to talk about what we should be doing right now. Guys, do me a favor and please smash the like button for me if you get any value at all out of this video. And if you're stopping by this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel. I really would appreciate it. So let's jump into it, guys. So here's what the latest inflation numbers actually show. CPI inflation was up 3% last month, the previous month of June, year over year, from last June to this most recent June. Now, the CPI inflation that went up only 3% the previous month just rose by 3.2% in July. And that's 3.2% increase year over year from last July to this July. So the CPI inflation rate is up on a month over month basis from 3% to 3.2% and up 3.2% on a year over year basis from last July to this July. Now, here is the concerning part that we need to be thinking about and be aware of. This increase from 3% to 3.2% month over month is the first increase in month over month CPI inflation after 12 straight months of CPI inflation going down. In other words, CPI inflation went down for 12 straight months until July of this year. Then it went up from 3% to 3.2%. So that's pretty significant right there. And by the way, guys, that's the CPI inflation reading. The CPI determines inflation by calculating the prices of a fixed basket set of goods. But the Fed really looks at the core PCE inflation. The core PCE inflation takes out the two things that have the most volatility. The things that go way up and way down in price every single month, the core PCE eliminates those things. That's food and energy. So the core PCE sort of eliminates food and energy from its calculation, sort of like removing the outliers, right? So the Federal Reserve looks at the core PCE as a more accurate reflection of what the actual inflation is. So the core PCE is the real measure that the Fed is looking at. Now let me tell you what the recent core PCE numbers look like. The core PCE inflation also went up by 0.2% month over month, just like the CPI inflation. And the core PCE for this July as compared to last July was up 4.7%. So year over year, 4.7% increase in prices, according to the core PCE inflation numbers. Now, the good news is this. At 4.7% of core PCE for the month of July is the lowest rate of inflation in terms of the core PCE numbers since October of 2021. Great news, right? But still, when prices are rising at a 4.7% clip, like they are from last July to this July, that's still too high. Because according to the Fed, they want to see a core PCE inflation rate of 2%. That's their target. So the 4.7% is still a long ways from the 2% that the Fed really wants to see for the core PCE inflation. Again, remember, the Federal Reserve views the core PCE inflation rate as a better predictor of inflation trends than that CPI that we normally see when it's reported on the news. Now, as you guys know, over the last year and some months, the Federal Reserve has really been on a tear, raising the federal funds rate 11 out of the last 12 times that they've met, all for the sole purpose of lowering the inflation rate so that prices won't increase so fast. Now, just a few weeks ago, the Fed raised interest rates by 0.25 percentage point, or 25 basis points. And that took the Fed funds rate, which is the interest rate that banks charge one another for overnight lending to each other, to a range between 5.25% and 5.5%, which is the highest that federal funds rate has been in the last 21 years. So with all that said, guys, inflation is going down too slow on a year over year basis. So the Fed may be stuck continuing to raise interest rates maybe one or two more times this year. Maybe, right? That remains to be seen. The Fed does not meet again until September. And when they meet again, they'll have a lot of data to scrub through to figure out whether or not they're going to increase the federal funds rate or not. And you may be saying to yourself, well, why does the Fed target a 2% inflation rate. The Fed says that they want to see the prices of goods go up only by 2% every single year. And they say that if they target anything above 2%, it could normalize higher and higher prices more often, and they don't want that. Now, some economists say, hey, we should be targeting a 0% inflation rate. But then if you do that, guys, then you have more of a possibility of what's called deflation. Now, deflation is the total opposite of inflation. Inflation is the rate that prices are rising. Deflation is when prices start to go down too fast, too soon. And it's like what happened in the Great Depression back in the 1930s here in America. Guys, when prices start dropping too fast, too soon, businesses have to lay off a bunch of workers. Unemployment goes way up in a deflation type environment. And as unemployment skyrockets, people have less and less money to spend. And the economy sort of implodes within itself, right? And harder times set in, right? For businesses, for individuals. And it's the opposite of inflation. So on one hand, when you have extreme high inflation and prices are skyrocketing through the roof, right? That's inflation. But over here, where prices start dropping and dipping, that's called deflation. Well, the Fed has to play sort of this balancing act between deflation and inflation. And they say that 2% inflation is right at that level we want to be at so we don't cause deflation and we have prices and inflation under control. So it's sort of a balancing act that they play. And they put policies and things all in place to try to have that balance. But here's the kicker. The Fed makes mistakes all the time with these policies, right? Hindsight is 20/20, as they say. Now, with these latest inflation numbers, guys, it's a bit of a silver lining when you take a step back and look at the big picture of inflation and where we've been over the last year and a half or so. Last June, these CPI inflation numbers was around 9% year over year. Now, today, again, CPI numbers are at 3.2%. Much lower than the 9% year over year inflation reading that we were getting last year. So it really says, guys, what the Fed has been doing is working to an extent. It's just not working fast enough, right? And the other problem is that the core PCE numbers still remain at 4.7%. Still much higher than where they want to see it at that 2% to have that balance, right? And it doesn't look like it's coming down to 2% anytime very soon. But the slowdown in the rate of inflation from where it was last summer sort of takes the pressure off the Fed and maybe says, hey, Fed, slow down a little bit on increasing these interest rates and increasing this Fed funds rate. Now, with all that said, guys, the economy, the U.S. economy is still growing. The first half of 2023 in quarters 1 and quarters 2, there was GDP growth of 2% and 2.4%. And the Atlanta Federal Reserve is now tracking the third quarter of this year that we're in right now. Looks like it may be up to a 4% increase in the GDP. That's growth. Now, all this growth is happening in terms of the economy while unemployment is still at the lowest it's been at around 3.5, 3.7, 3.8%. That's the lowest unemployment has been at in the last 50 years, guys, since 1969, 1970, right around that time. So unemployment is super duper low. The economy is growing, yet the Fed at the same time is raising these interest rates to 21-year highs at between 5.25% and 5.5% for the federal funds rate. Now that never happens. This is a first in the history of the economy of America, or at least in about 70 years, that the Fed has made significant progress bringing inflation down without pushing up unemployment, right? Usually, when they raise these federal funds rate, unemployment skyrockets because raising the rates chokes off the spending of businesses and individuals. And now those businesses have to now lay off workers and unemployment usually goes up as prices go down, but that's not happening. So it's kind of an anomaly going on right now, something that really hasn't been seen in many years in America. And more experts are really saying right now, guys, that the U.S. may be able to avoid a serious recession despite these aggressive rate hikes by the Federal Reserve and despite inflation going down too slow. Now, what does all this mean for us? For a lot of us in the U.S., right here in America, this can sort of allow us to sort of breathe, take a sigh of relief for a moment. But listen, I'm going to tell you on this video, guys, don't get too comfortable. We've seen recently where the U.S. credit rating has been downgraded. And we know the value of the U.S. dollar continues to slip. And like we've talked about on this video, we know that the core PCE, the broader measure of inflation is still rather high at 4.7%. Not to mention, rents and housing, those prices are still rising as well. And so all of this remains a problem. But here is the bottom line for us. It means we have to continue being very, very intentional with our money and making sure, because of the unemployment that is normally going higher when rates go higher, making sure that we have our resume updated. We still want to maybe start that side gig or that side hustle to bring in additional income, right? Looking for ways to increase that income and being very careful with our spending as usual, making sure we're living below our means, making sure we have a cushion between our income and our expenses so that we can be saving and investing with that cushion. We don't know when there's going to be a sudden downturn in the markets, such as the labor market here in America. So we want to be ready and prepared, right? We need to prepare ourselves just in case. Also, continue to reduce your debt on depreciating items, things that are going down in value. And again, build that emergency fund up, guys, so you have a reserve of money to pull from, again, just in case. And don't pull out of the stock market. We may see some dips in the stock market coming soon, depending on what the Fed may do at their next meeting in September with the Fed funds rate. But you still want to be dollar cost averaging into the stock market. Don't panic. Don't pull all your money out and put it underneath your mattress and pay all those fees and penalties because you got scared. You watched something on TV that said breaking news and you want to pull all your money out. Don't do it. Again, be encouraged that core PCE inflation is down from last year's numbers. And the CPI numbers, although both slightly went up this last month over month, they're down from where they were last year at this time. And most important, don't live in fear. Keep doing the good things you've been doing with your money. But again, do your best to be prepared, just in case things get a little crazy. Guys, on this video, I just wanted to give you an inflation update and fill you in on what the latest inflation numbers are showing. What does it mean for us? And what we should be doing and continue to do right now. And I wanted to give it all to you in plain, easy to understand language. Hey guys, don't forget to smash the like button below, share this video, and please subscribe to my channel if you like what you heard. And guys, check out a few of these videos right here for more on the US economy in plain language. The best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you. Always take care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.